My friends, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a moment of silence for the legendary 183? This is indeed the end of the HESH rounds as we know it on the Sandbox server. If those changes are going to live as they are over here in most likely World of Tanks 2.0, because it makes sense. This entire patch, this entire testing over here is so big, we can easily call it World of Tanks 2.0. 1.0 introduced new graphics, new styles and all that, improved graphics. And most likely 2.0 is going to be what we have on the Sandbox server. This is indeed the end of the HESH rounds as we know them on the live server at the moment. No more 1750 alpha damage with HESH rounds. No more 230 millimeters of penetration. The legendary, one of a kind, for most people, one of the most annoying ammunition types, was hit quite hard, was hit with quite a massive nerf hammer. Alpha damage from 1750 was brought down to 1100. And penetration 230 was brought down to a big, fat, massive, roundy 0. Just to bring it down to the same level with many other HE ammunition types, HE based ammunition in World of Tanks, excluding some rare unicorns like FV2 for example, or artillery. And of course, as many of you may know, maybe you do not know, now you know that 183, this vehicle over here, is my #1 favorite tank destroyer. In my opinion, this tank and FV215, both tanks are simply built around this one ammunition type, because all the other stats of both vehicles, like gun handling stats, are not the best. So, HESH round made those vehicles such a meme tanks. So, if you take that away, what do we have left? So, I played couple battles just to test out the HESH round and the AP round as well, and let me tell you something about this shot, for example. So the average damage is 1100, penetration is 0, so that means your shots are not going to penetrate. But I was still able to get kind of a penetration roll because of the new HE ammunition system. And this shot as well actually. Boom. Once again, above average roll. That kinda indicates I just penetrated both vehicles with HESH round. That has 0 penetration. When I was playing on this Sandbox test server with different vehicles using different HE ammunition types, for example like T49 or this 183 over here, I found I don't know, like for me it was kind of a pattern, kind of a tell about how much damage you can do. I don't know if this is true, because I know we have new HE damage calculations in the game, we have a new system in the game for HE and HESH. But when I did hit different targets with different armor values, I was able to get the same rolls on the same type of armors. So in this case I fired at 2 armorless vehicles, like I don't know, one has let's say 10 millimeters of armor, another has 20 millimeters of armor. Those are going to be armor class number 3 with no armor. And I was always getting the same rolls, around the average rolls with this HESH ammunition, around 1100. But now, when I was hitting medium tanks, for example, that has some armor but not the best armor, into the same positions, same armor values, I was getting the same rolls, hitting different vehicles that have similar armor, so I would say this is like armor class 2. I was not able to get like 1100 damage, I got let's say 600, 700 damage, but all the time same type of rolls into the same armor class vehicles. And of course, when I was hitting either Mouse or Type 5 or any other heavy tank with a lot more armor, I got the same damage rolls as well. Although, hitting heavy tanks, the armor spread, by the way this shot as well, into the commander hatch, nice accuracy. Hitting heavy tanks seems to have a lot bigger RNG role because it depends where your shot lands, where it splashed and so on. For example, I had a shot into mouse when I did 300 damage, and I also had a shot into mouse which splashed, I think on the top of the engine bay or something, for 850 damage. So the damage spread hitting heavy tanks is going to be a lot bigger. On one side it kinda makes sense, but on the other side, when I'm hitting the exact same position, one shot 200 damage, another shot 800 damage, not huge fan of that, not huge fan of that. But with this shot, for example, LT432, I found out that this new HESH is actually a lot more consistent versus, let's say, armor class 3, versus non-armored vehicles and versus medium tanks, because many times using the standard or using the live server HESH version at the moment, when I'm hitting vehicle like LT432 into the side, into the tracks, usually I am not able to penetrate, and usually the non-penetration shot deals around 500 to 700 damage when you are not able to penetrate a target. But now, it doesn't matter if I hit the tracks, if I hit the hull, if I hit the turret on non-armored vehicle, it is always going to deal more damage, a bit more damage than the non-penetration with the previous HESH round, or the HESH round we currently have on the live server. So this is actually quite a positive thing. I am looking for positive things as well, because as I said, 183 is my favorite tank and it is just such a meme tank, so let's try to figure out what is positive about this as well. And hitting all those non-armored vehicles, even into the tracks, many times equals a lot more damage than the current HESH with non-penetration on the live server. Now IS-7, let's try to hit the IS-7. IS-7 is really tough tank to penetrate. 701 into the side. This usually would have been the same roll with 1750 alpha damage, because how the current non-penetration works with 80 rounds, for example, if you do not penetrate, your damage is halved. You basically lose 50% damage already, and then it starts calculating where did it hit, where can it splash, where is the weakest part of the vehicle, how far it is from the splash radius, and so on. It takes all those calculations in, and then it shows you the damage you just did. Hitting IS-7 into the side usually actually did around 500 to, let's say, 750 damage. But of course, if you hit something extremely armored like turrets and so on, you deal a lot less damage, as you are currently dealing on the live server as well. So where to use HESH ammunitions now? Are they going to be effective all the time or not? I would say not all the time, most definitely, because as you have seen from this battle on the background at the moment, I am using AP rounds. My first shot was a penetration 1491, my second shot was a penetration 1414. And my third shot was also a penetration into Type 4 Heavy for 1256, because now this AP round is actually super mad. 310 millimeters of penetration, well, same penetration, but this is the highest standard stock penetration in this game, even bigger than on STRV. I'm not talking about premium rounds, I'm talking about standard rounds, and the alpha damage was raised up to 1440. So now the AP is always going to do more damage if you penetrate, and you are able to penetrate most of your shots unless something with extremely slopey turret is completely hull down, or for example that T110E4 got the luckiest angle, I do not know. Well, on my screen it seemed like it did hit the turret. The only thing what is able to bounce my 310 millimeters of penetration is the con mantle, maybe the con mantle, but on my screen it seemed like it went into the side turret or into the cheeks behind the con mantle, what you are able to penetrate easily, what you should be able to penetrate easily with 310 millimeters, even when facing directly forward. So if you're unlucky, yes, you miss out damage. With HESH you're always going to deal damage basically if you hit your shots, but Now, from now on, if those changes go live, the main ammunition type is going to be, for me, is going to be the AP, and most likely this is going to be my ammunition loadout, 15 AP rounds and 5 HESH rounds. Where HESH rounds are going to be useful. HESH rounds are going to be useful when you see, let's say, heavy tanks around 400 to 500 hit points, or around 600 hit points. If you are sure you're able to hit the side of the vehicle, for example, if you have to take those snapshots, not fully aimed in shots, and some type of shots like this. When there is extremely low armored vehicle around, let's say, 900 hit points, and you want to take those snapshots once again, when there is like Guerrilla 15, FV215, Waffenträger, all those non-armored tanks, or maybe even some light tanks, and you do not want to risk simply critically damaging something or simply tracking them, because AP round is the drawback of the AP round, of course. You have a chance to simply critically damage those vehicles. EBR, for example, is prime example for that. You, with your 183mm shell, which is bigger than the EBR itself, you can simply deal 0 damage into the wheels. And HESH is going to help you out with that. HESH has a lot more alpha damage than the HE. Over 300 more alpha damage than the HE on this vehicle. So now HESH round is 100% going to be situational, is going to be strategical ammunition type to use. On live server at the moment, for me, for most of you guys, it is actually the main ammunition type to get those, meme shots, let's be honest over here, to get those 2000 damage penetration. This is why people are playing with HESH rounds, just to one-shot something. It is basically like a field artillery. Now you're not able to do that. Now if you want to deal more consistent damage in most of situations, AP round is the way to go. And HESH round is just there to help you out in some situations. So, my friends, this is 183 and new HESH ammunition on the Sandbox server at the moment. My little testing adventures with 183. Let me know what you think about this one. Are you okay with it? Thumbs up from you or not? Many players, as I said before, hate HESH rounds because no vehicle should be able to one-shot almost any tank in this game. Or you do not like it. Let me know in the comments down below. There are going to be a lot more testings, a lot more new things to test out, so stay tuned, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell button, so you are going to be notified when I upload another episode, and I catch you next time with something else. Consider yourself being informed. Des is out.